MwAPATA Institute is committed to contribute to generation of knowledge that will inform policy options for redesigning the AIP, hence this roundtable event this evening. Already at this point, I would like to thank Dr. Nyondo and also Dr. Yang for their interest in this very important subject matter. I would also like to welcome and thank our panelists and moderators for agreeing to be here this evening to share their experiences and at the same time highlighting areas that will inform the policy options for redesigning the AIP. We at MwAPATA are keen to continue being a key partner to the government's drive towards agricultural transformation in Malawi by defining a new agricultural narrative as embodied in Malawi 2063. Let me take this opportunity to thank our partners, the Michigan State University, the Agricultural Transformation Initiative, and the United States Agency for International Development for their untiring technical and financial support.
In the 2020-21 farming season, the Tonse Alliance government introduced the Affordable Input Program. The AIP was allocated roughly 65% of the total other recurrent transactions allocation to the Ministry of Agriculture in the 2021 and 21-22 budgets. This means that as the ministry was remained with 35% of its allocated budget to cover staff salaries and fund the operations of the other ministry functions, including research and extension. Additionally, the subsidy program has a direct bearing on the foreign exchange reserves due to the high volumes of fertilizer importation. I think emphasis is that we should ensure that whatever reforms we are to implement should not affect food security in the country, as the option of importation could be far much expensive than our own local production.
He has said that input subsidy program was introduced to improve food security. So I guess when we are going out of here, we'll be able to have suggested ways on how the AIP program can be reformed for improved food security. And he also agrees that the president has made calls for AIP reforms.
We are proposing for a general improvement of on-farm management practices. At the moment, simple things like weeding, some of them are not done in the correct way. Simple things like applying the right fertilizers at the right time. Those things should be improved. In the medium term, which is a period of between 5 and 10 years, we are proposing that government should consider investing more in public infrastructure. These are roads, rail lines, electricity, and also investing more in social services. Also, a program that incorporates soil fertility and conservation interventions with the sole purpose of raising the agronomic use efficiency of the nitrogen we are investing in our soils.
His presentation looked at why the subsidy program was introduced. He also looked at the achievements of previous subsidy programs. And of course, he mentioned that previously the subsidy program may have underachieved, and he shared some reasons and why we need to reform the AIP. He mentioned that the current budget, national budget, NAP and NAIP has mentions of that, and even the Malawi 2063 MIP1, that's the 10-year plan, also mentions of the same. Likewise, literature has also proved that we need to at least reform the AIP. And he has mentioned and shared some interventions divided into 3 parts: the short-term, medium, and long-term, where he mentioned of issues of markets, irrigation, cost effectiveness, and he is calling members present, even online, to bring in their views so that we can have a better AIP program.
I would first like to draw your attention to this graph that Dr. Nyondo showed you earlier as well. and especially to the last part of it, which shows how much extra maize we're getting for an additional kilo of fertilizer that is put into the ground. I did some quick back of the envelope calculation based on this, and essentially what this leads to is that for the 50 kilos of urea and 50 kilos of NPK that the farmer gets from AIP, the additional yield from that is 72.5 kilos on average of maize. Now, if you roughly translate that to current prices, that is 60,000 kwacha worth of investment, most of it made in Forex, because it's fertilizer that needs to be imported, and that gets you at current price about 15,000 kwacha of maize. Now, I think there are quite a few business people in this room. To me, this doesn't sound like a very, very good investment.
Honorable Chamanika, do you see from where you sit, having listened to this, that we really need AIP? And if we do need it, what do you think is really the main aim that the AIP, you as a member of parliament, representing people out there, should be the target? What should the AIP be focused on if we still need it as a country?
All the presentations made here, it seems it's a little bit far from us who are in the mainstream part of making decisions. You, the people with knowledge, who are generating knowledge, to a certain extent, you should also be so closer to us. And this is a plea to civil service, CSOs, and so on. Please, get the courage to give us things in this manner, and give us things that are really, that will make us to think how best we can do it. Otherwise, we just vote yes or no, and pass the budget, pass all the laws and the legislation, when we know that we are not sorting out the problems that are really affecting our people. So to answer you, sir, yes, we need it, but it should be reformed and redesigned. And the one has chosen the very good word. Not even reforming it, it's redesigning it. That's a very serious thing, which I also agree. Thank you very much.
Farmers should not only think of feeding themselves when they are working in their gardens. They should also think of selling and looking after their families. They should have money. They should have food every time they want it. So it's very, very important that AIP should be there to assist the farmer, to assist everyone in the family. We should not only think of maize production, because what we have actually seen AIP doing, it's targeting maize. But we have legumes. For example, soya beans last year did quite a lot. If it made 800 billion kwachas, definitely that means legumes are very important to also be considered on AIP.
Efficiency comes from competitive behavior in a market, and I would strongly recommend that we continue to promote a vibrant private sector that is competitive and that delivers the highest level of service. So any other model we've seen basically tends to become inefficient and to fail.
AIP sikuti winaliesa makam program abezeka kuti ena palibe ena alipo amene palibewo azikandi mtima utatha kuzidalira paokha akakhala kuti akutha kupanganso manyowa paokha ngati imene fertilizer ife tili ngati bridge kwa alimi ang'onoang'ono kwaunikira zimene angathe kupanga kuti asavutike komanso ulimi wawo asakhale umodzi kuti chasikali chimanga chokha chifukwa fertilizer amathandiza kuchimanga komanso azilima mbewu zing'ono zoti azitasogulisa kuti azipeza ndalama.
If I was to talk about redesigning AIP, what questions would I have been asking? The first question in the redesign is who should get it? The question of whether we have agreed it should be around, the question but should be who should be getting it, which raises the issue of targeting. Who should we be targeting? The second question about the design of a program, whether social protection or subsidy in agriculture, is what should the benefits package be? Is 2 bags, 25 kg base or 25 kg top, sufficient to help increase productivity? So the benefits package needs to be thought about. Number 3, what is the implied subsidy? In other words, if we are going to offer fertilizer to our people, what contribution should our own people make towards the fertilizer, and what contribution should government make? And indeed, the issue of universality of the program. Should the program cover everyone, or should the program cover every crop? Or should people have a flexible voucher which they can use to redeem something they want? If you want fertilizer for tobacco, use it. If you want fertilizer for soya, use it. Or should we tie the coupon to maize? So as we are talking about redesigning the program, these are issues that we also need to take into account.
My job this evening is to simply invite you to pronounce yourselves, either by way of asking questions or making comments. And in this process, not only will I be inviting comments from those that are physically present here, I'll also be inviting comments from colleagues that are participating in this roundtable discussion virtually.
The first one, I think, just to agree that indeed AIP needs to target productive poor. There is no reason for us to be giving resources to farmers that we know will not be able to utilize that resource. These are the people that we see selling their coupons, because at that particular time their need is now, is current. So even if we give them a coupon, they will not, it's not very useful to them. So they would rather sell it, get the money, no matter how small the amount is, but that's not the objective of why we're giving them the coupon. So indeed, targeting the productive poor becomes very critical.
Allow me, if you will, to step outside of Malawi for a moment. Today's invasion of Ukraine will have huge global implications. Ukraine is a major exporter of wheat and maize, and prices will rise further, as will the prices of fuel. Russia and Ukraine are both major producers of fertilizer, so sanctions will therefore have an impact on global fertilizer prices. That's some real global realpolitik that will be important for many, many countries in the world. Of course, some farmers will benefit from this, but it's unlikely to be those in the greatest need in Malawi. In that context, and with Malawi facing its own economic and fiscal challenges, it's really good to see a recognition and a willingness to talk seriously about reforming AIP. There's a real need to do that in this resource-constrained world. Therefore, it's great to have this session in particular, because it's great to talk about options, and it's really helpful to learn from others.
So my question is about logistics. So right now, when you look at the budget that they have, we are looking at 3.5 million bags of fertilizer. And we are looking at 1.7 million households. Looking at it whole without even covering the logistics. It means that Parliament has not given enough money for the AIP, which we are saying we should redesign. The question is, who is listening? Because the ones who make these decisions are the politicians, and I don't know whether we have got the key politicians here. Because at the end of the day, the discussion that we have here is just talk. Nobody cooks rice. The rice is cooked by the politician. So I want to agree with the Honorable MP, or somebody there mentioned about these logistical issues.
Also, just to conclude, I would like to indicate that in the next few days, a team of policy experts will be analyzing the key issues which have emerged from this discussion this evening, and will prepare a small briefing note which will be able to submit and also have some conversation with the ministry. We'll also be able to share that with the rest of the distinguished participants who are here.